Hey, this is Dan Hall of Dan H411 Guitar Lessons. Welcome back to the channel. If you're just joining us for the first time, I've got lessons on here every single week. So be sure to like, subscribe, and share, and come back for more. In today's lesson, I'm going to give you the part 3 of my arrhythmia lessons, my breakdown. Today there was something in the song. If you haven't seen the song Arrhythmia, then I put the whole video in my first lesson of this series, so go check that out. I might put a little snippet right after this intro. But in the song Arrhythmia, I used the Phrygian and the Locrian scale. The Phrygian found within the Locrian, so they're relative shapes back to each other. But then what I did was I found some interesting pentatonics, and I found some interesting sweep or arpeggio patterns within the scale shape that fit really nicely over the scale shape. So in today's lesson, we're going to take a look at that little pattern that I found, which is here. And I'm going to go ahead and break that down for you, show you how I did that, why it fits within the scale shape, and help you understand how you can find other things like that within other scales as well, because all of that stuff is in there. It's just a big puzzle, and it's just a matter of pulling it apart, finding all of the different pieces and understanding how they fit together, right? So in order to do that, it's just a matter of looking at the fretboard and starting to see those shapes. That's why I always say that I help you unlock the fretboard code, I help you see the circular patterns of the shapes, and I help you find how they fit together like puzzle pieces, so you can just go ahead and train your fingers to go wherever you want them to go on the fretboard and play with ease and confidence. So this is part 3 of a 4-part series. I'll have one more part after this where I explore some additional ideas within the Locrian and the Phrygian shapes. But for now, we'll take a look at those arpeggios and those sweeps, so check it out. Song Arrhythmia, we have 2 parts where I'm doing this, first of all. Something like that, where basically is in E, and it's in E Phrygian, which I've shown you that shape in previous lessons. And that shape right there, which is played starting on the 5th string, at 7, 8, 10, and then on the 4th string 7, 9, 10, and then when we get to the 3rd string we're going to play 7, 9, 10 as well, and on the 2nd string we're playing 8, 10, and on the 1st string we're playing 7, 8, 10. It allows me to go ahead and play that, and the pentatonic of that, I think I fleshed that out for you as well, is basically your regular pentatonic. Where I'm using the anchor shapes of the 1, 2, 4 on the 5th string and the 1, 3, 4 on the 4th string to go ahead and give me those large span patterns. And then on the 3rd string, the 2nd string, and the 1st string, I got my small spans. On the 3rd string, it's a 7, 9, and then 8, 10, 8, 10 on the 1st string, the 2nd string, and the 6th string. That's your pentatonic. And that pentatonic right there is perfect for Ionian, Locrian, and Phrygian, basically. So the Ionian, which is going to be your C Ionian, or your C major scale, it actually fits within the Locrian scale, which is your B Locrian. And that's very interesting because those are two completely different tones, but it's going to fit right in there and it's going to sound pretty much at home as long as you're playing over C major. But your C Ionian or your C major scale is going to be that same pentatonic that I just showed you with Phrygian. Now there might be some theorists out there who might say that's not true, but I'm applying this to how I find pentatonics using the 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, 4 pattern, and then just leaving out the 1, 2 and the 3 of the next pattern. I'm talking about my fingers, 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, 4. So when you play that 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, 4, you can just put your pentatonic in there like that. And again, if I'm playing in E, then that becomes a Phrygian pentatonic. If I'm playing in B, then that becomes a Locrian pentatonic. But if I'm playing a C, it becomes the major scale. And it sounds like a major scale because that's what it is, but you can also apply it to Phrygian and Locrian, and it fits okay. There are better ways to do it, but I'm just giving you an idea to show you that for shortcuts, that's one way to find the pentatonic. But the C major scale, if you ever wonder about that, is the one that sounds like My Girl. So you know you're in the major scale playing the major pentatonic if you can get that My Girl sound. If you play the whole shape, which is this, and you play it backwards, it's Joy to the World. But again, when we're starting on the 5th string and I'm playing 7, 8, 10, and then on the 4th string 7, 9, 10, and then continuing on, and I resolve back to that, which is my E, that's an E Phrygian. If I go ahead and include the 6th string and I play the 7, 8, 10 on the 6th string as well, which is my B, that becomes a B Locrian. So that's one interesting thing about scale shapes that's easy for newer guitar players not to quite understand, is that there's scale shapes within scale shapes, within scale shapes, okay? Because you got Ionian, Phrygian, and Locrian all kind of sitting right there within the same box, just depending on what you resolve back to, which I think is kind of cool and allows you to do all kinds of interesting stuff. So in my Patreon lesson, which is the kind of the middle part in between part 2 and part 3, which this is part 3, what I did in the Patreon lesson was I showed you how to play this little scale right here, which is in Locrian, but it's a Locrian pentatonic. A different way of thinking about the Locrian pentatonic, it sounds like this. And you can hear that resolves back to that B, right? So what's interesting about the Locrian pentatonic, that one right there specifically, is that it lends itself to an arpeggio or a sweep pick that I also put in the song that sounds like this. Which I stuck in the song a few times, especially when it got to that part of the song that goes like this. So that shape right there, you can hear how it lines up with that pentatonic, which is this one right here. And I can go into that when I move up to the next shape. So that kind of just hit me as I was playing around with this scale shape. Like, that's pretty interesting. Because a lot of times I'll play this arpeggio. But this widens it a little bit. And they can both pretty much work together. That's one of the things we could definitely practice today. We can actually look at that today. That's how we can take both those shapes. And we could take both those shapes and kind of create like a little practice pattern where I'm going back and forth between one and then the other, which is what I basically did right there. So it's an interesting dynamic. We'll look at it in a couple of different ways. If you're new to sweep picking and you're not sure how to do all this stuff, then of course maybe just doing a triad, which is this right here. Which is something that I did in the song. Might also be easier for you, but we can also take this across all 6 strings. And then we can resolve it back to that B Locrian. Now you can also hear the ear wants to go back to the A natural minor scale. Because that scale is one of the shapes of the Locrian. And Western music tends to lend itself to resolving back to either a natural minor or a major. It's very, very common in Western music, and we hear it all the time, so our ears are really, really trained to head on back to that major scale or that minor scale. So you're hearing that. But when I'm playing the song, and you've got this going on, then that little lick right there, it resolves back to that very easily, that B, or that B Locrian. I guess it's a B minor or B diminished as well, but that's basically what I'm thinking about it as, is a B Locrian. So let's go ahead and break that down and show you exactly how that works. So first of all, I'll just go ahead and show you the triad. So the triad is going to go ahead and play on the first string from the 7th fret to the 12th fret. So it's a pretty big span. And you might be thinking that might be a little bit too hard, right? So if you can't do that span, since you're going from 1 fret, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frets, making a 5 half-step jump, or 2.5 steps, I guess is what it is. So we can also try it down here if you need to, okay? I'll show it to you up here, but if you need to, move it up where the frets are closer. Here's on the 15th fret, going up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up to the 20th fret. It'd be right there. So it might be a little bit easier up here, especially if you have a guitar that has a nice hill on it. Mine has a very clunky hill. Les Pauls aren't known for their best hills. It's harder to play higher up. So if you got you a nice shreddy guitar that has a nice hill cutaway that allows you to have higher fret access, then of course it's going to be a whole lot easier to play the shape up here. For me, I went ahead and chose it here because that was within the key of the song. And I'm of course training my fingers to have a little bit broader span. I want to stretch them out a little bit, and that's something that's going to help. Notice that my wrist, I'm trying to relax my wrist. I'm trying not to play like this, which is very common for newer guitar players. So you want to kind of have a loose, relaxed wrist. The thumb is on the back of the guitar right here as I play. I'm not trying to grip the guitar like this. I'm actually just kind of putting it right there so that I can maneuver like that. I'm not trying to grip it and tighten my wrist up. Make it loose, drop the wrist. Now looking at myself on camera, I can say I could probably drop my wrist a little bit more. Bringing my elbow in. Like there's a lot of little nuances that you gotta make sure you adopt when you play guitar and get away from some of the bad habits. Like you don't want to play like this, right? You don't want to be out here like this and all tied up like this and, you know, like that, right? Because if you're doing stuff like that, then it's going to be difficult to play. So you want to make everything relaxed. Bring your elbows in. Keep your shoulders over your hips. You know, make it so that playing the guitar becomes an extension of your body. Notice my sweeping. I'm angling the pick towards my body as I come down, and when I come up, I'm moving it where it's facing the ground. At least that's what I'm trying to do. Now, you want that to become tacit or unconscious or subliminal, you know, whatever the best word is for it. You want it to be intuitive, right? Hey, just a quick interruption to let you know that I do have a free course out there. It's a 7-day course to unlock the fretboard. So everything that you're seeing in my YouTube videos and these free lessons is based on a foundation. Part of it I like to call the star guitar method, where you see shapes in a circular star-like pattern. And then I also use solfege or do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do to help teach the guitar. I also help you understand how to unlock the fretboard code by seeing the shapes as puzzle pieces and how they lock together. So you get a snippet here, a snippet there when you're watching my YouTube videos, because I don't go into detail about everything all in one video. But in this 7-day course, that's exactly what I do. I kind of break it down for you from beginning to end. I actually go string by string and show you how the shapes work along the fretboard and how you can start seeing those circles, so you can just go ahead and play wherever you want to play on the fretboard, play songs pretty much in any key that you want to, and solo over pretty much every song, no matter what key it's in. So to get that 7-day course, just go over to tinyurl.com/danh411, and that link is in the description, so you can just click on it and head on over there right now. Sign up for that free course, get on my email list. I'll send you bonuses, I'll send you promotions and information about what I'm doing, as well as letting you know whenever I put a new video out on the YouTube channel, or whenever I got something out on my Patreon, which is deep dives into all of this stuff that I talk about as well. So again, tinyurl.com/danh411, get that free 7-day course to unlock the fretboard. You can unsubscribe at any time, but the free course is yours to keep. So right now I just showed you that we're playing on the 7th fret and the 12th fret. So you want to get to the ability to be able to do that, because you got to use your pinky on this. And using your pinky on this means you got to have a little bit of strength in your pinky to hammer on to that 12th fret. If you're having a hard time doing that, then you're not going to get a good sound out of this. It's going to sound like this. And I've been accused of not having good left-hand control when I do like tapping phrases and things like that. And that's okay. It's okay to know that you have things you have to work on. So I'm just showing you what you need to work on here, and maybe I need to work on this as well. Just something to think about right there, right? And you can see how that fits into that scale. So we're just leaving out some notes, and we're playing that little part right there. And that's just 2 notes, but it sounds like a kind of shreddy lick, right? So what we're going to add into this is we're going to add in 2 more notes. On the 2nd string, with my middle finger, we're going to go ahead and play the 10th fret. And that right there, we can just go ahead and practice that by itself, going back and forth from that little tappy lick to the 10th fret. So like that. Now that is a pretty big stretch between my 1st finger and my 2nd finger. But you're going to want to use your middle finger or your 2nd finger, because if you try to use your ring finger on this, then you're not going to be able to go ahead and go to the next shapes, which I'll show you in a little bit. Now if you're just doing the triad, then using your middle finger is probably okay. I've trained my muscle memory to use my middle finger, so it's kind of hard for me to do that. But if you wanted to do that, you could. You could use your middle finger on the 10th fret, or excuse me, your ring finger on the 10th fret of the 2nd string. So that can give you an interesting lick there. A little sloppy on that. I'm not used to doing it that way, but that's an idea. It gives you kind of a nice little shreddy technique that, of course, we can move that up and down the fretboard. We could even compress it a little bit, going from the 8th fret to the 12th fret instead of the 7th fret to the 12th fret. Just give you an easier way to do this. And for me, I would want to use my middle finger on that. Just an idea. Just thinking ahead for future things. But on this one, we're going to do 7, 12. And I want to use my middle finger on that 10th fret of the second string. I'm getting a lot of string noise, again, because that's not something I've really worked on very well. But there's your 2-string shape. Now your 3-string shape, you're going to want to use your index finger, which means we're going to move from the 7th fret to the 3rd string on the 9th fret to play that next part there. Now that makes it a little bit easier to do that because I'm lifting my index finger up to get it ready to land on the 3rd string at the 9th fret. So you got that. And then we go back. And then come back up. And then you can either hammer on there and then come back to the 2nd string, 3rd string, or you can pick up. So there's a couple different ways you can do it. But looking at it from the side here, it looks like this. So something like that. But take your time with it. Go 1 string at a time. And then, after you get that down pat, then you can go ahead and add in the 4th, 5th, and 6th strings. So looking at the 4th string, my middle finger is going to go ahead and go from the 2nd string at the 8th fret, and then jump over to the 4th string at the 8th fret. So we're creating this little triangle. And that's a little sweep or an arpeggio in and of itself, right? A little triad. Where I'm playing on the 4th string at the 10th. I think I said that was the 8th before, but the 4th string at the 10th, the 3rd string at the 9th, and the 2nd string at the 10th. And then adding in that 1st string at the 7th and the 12th. So you have your fingers see, they're jumping around. Now sweep picking, I'm just basically raking. So I've shown you this in a few previous lessons where you're just going down, then you're coming back up, and you're basically working on that precision of making sure that you're keeping your palm muted on the strings, or the strings muted with your palm, and then you're angling the pick up towards your body when you're going down, down towards the ground when you're coming back up. It's not as obvious as this, but it's more subtle than that, but that's basically what you're doing. And you got to be mindful of it, but it eventually becomes part of your muscle memory. And then you're also palm muting or muting the strings with your playing hand as well. That also becomes intuitive. The more you play, the more it becomes intuitive. But it just, you don't want to do this. Right? You got to make sure you mute that string noise. A lot of people to combat that will get a sock or a string wrap or a scrunchie or a fret wrap to put, right here so it'll mute the string noise. Especially for recording, that's a pretty good idea, because it helps you get rid of a lot of excess noise when you're recording songs. I don't use one because I'm old school, and to be honest with you, that's a hill I'll probably die on, but that doesn't mean I'm right about it. So here we go with the 4th string pattern again. So then when we add in the 5th string, we're going to go to the 12th fret on the 5th string. And we're going to use my ring finger for that. And then of course I can make this a 5-shape arpeggio. I can go back and forth with that. So you can go ahead and add that in there as well. And then when you get to the 6th string, you're going to play 2 notes. You're going to play the 13th fret on the 6th string, and then also the 10th fret on the 6th string, which will be these 2 notes right here. And then you're going to use your pinky on the 13th fret of the 6th string, and then when you get to the 6th string after you hit your pinky, you're going to go ahead and use your, I believe it's your index finger. I'll play it one time real quick. But I believe it's your index finger, which is going to be on the 10th fret of the 6th string. So right there. So that basically gives you the whole shape. So to practice that, of course, you would want to go nice and slow with it. Take your time. And you could either start at the top, right here. Or you can start at the bottom. Get a metronome, and then take your time with it. Turn your volume down a little bit so you don't get so much feedback, and take it up to the neg pickup so it makes it sound a little bit smoother, and then just kind of. Okay, and then of course with the metronome you could even go slower than that and play maybe each note to the click, or maybe play half notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And of course, economy of movement with your left hand, which is something we probably all need to work on, is keep your fingers as close to the fretboard as possible so that you're not lifting your fingers up too much and you have too much movement. And that would look something a little more like this. But it's something I need to work on as well. Just keep in mind that the closer your fingers are to the fretboard, the more economy of movement you have, the less you have to travel to get from wherever your fingers are in space to the fretboard, which makes your playing a little bit faster. Now, I'm not a huge teacher of speed. I think that melodic playing doesn't necessarily depend on speed. Speed to me is a way to express yourself. If you want to get from point A to point B, there's a lot of ways you can do it. You can do it slow, you can do a vibrato, you can take your time with it, you can do some pentatonic licks, you can do some repetitive licks, you can do some things that are in your bag of tricks that maybe you use over and over and over again, or you can work on every technique that you're doing and build up speed as fast as possible and get as fast as possible so that you can play lightning speed all the time, everything that you're playing. That depends on your goal. For me, I'm not really at that point yet in my playing where I want to be as fast as I possibly can be. I just want to be able to express myself with notes that fit over scale shapes and sound the best. And that could be slow playing, like bluesy playing, or that could be faster playing, like shredding, or that could be somewhere in between. It doesn't really matter to me as long as it sounds good. So that's what I want you to take away from that, is if you want to build up speed, you got to use a lot of economy picking, a lot of economy of movement. In this case, sweep picking sounds better when it's fast. But even in this song Arrhythmia, I didn't do this very fast. I think I went something like this. Which is not a very fast sweep, but it still sounded great in the song. And it created some interesting dynamics, which, of course, called the listener back to the song and say, what's he doing there? So either way is fine, as long as you take your time with it and express yourself the way that you want to express yourself. Now, that's all 6 strings of that shape. Now there's another shape that's sitting within there that looks almost exactly the same, and it's this one right here. And we're going to explore that one as well, because what I would like you to be able to do is take two shapes, put on a metronome, and go back and forth. Something like that, where you can link them together. So the other shape is going to be on the first string. In this case, it's going to be a little bit closer together. It's going to be on the 8th and the 12th. And then when you get to the second string, you're going to play the same two notes we already played. Second string is going to be the 10th, and third string is going to be the 9th. Not much different from the other one we played. The only note that's different is I'm going to play on the first string, I'm playing the 8 instead of the 7. So if you want to put those two triads together, you could just go ahead and move your index finger from the 7th to the 8th fret on the first string. Then when I get to the fourth string, I'm going to play the same note that I played in the original arpeggio sequence. I'm going to play the 10th fret on the fourth string. Again, we can go ahead and go back and forth between those two, right? Now, when we get to there, I'm going to play the same note on the 5th string, which is going to be the 12th fret. So in that original shape I went, and then what I did was I landed on the 13th fret of the 6th string, and then pulled off to the 10th fret of the 6th string. That note right there, that 7th fret note, and that 13th fret note on the 6th string are going to give you a signature sound which sounds more Locrian. What I'm about to play though, this one right here, is going to sound more Aeolian or natural minor. But again, as we learned at the beginning of this lesson, that still fits within this scale, right? And of course, it can go back to the Aeolian as well. So you can use this shape in a natural minor song as long as you're playing natural minor in that particular key. In this case, it would be the A Aeolian. But if you're playing in B and you want to play Locrian, then of course it'll fit as well. So it's all in there. It's just a matter of how you apply it. So going back to that one, playing with my pinky this time on the 5th string of the 12th, and then pulling off to the 8th fret on the 5th string. Okay, so the 5th string at the 12th fret, 5th string at the 8th fret, and then going back through. So we're playing index finger pinky at the 5th string on the 8th and the 12th. Middle finger, 4th string, 10th fret, 9th fret with my index finger on the 3rd string. Middle finger jumps, going to the 2nd string of the 10th fret, and then index finger, 8th fret, 12th fret on the 1st string. And then of course what you would want to do is when you get to that 1st string, you can go ahead and land on the 7th fret, and then as you go back, you play the other shape. So you hear right here, instead of playing the 8th, I'm going to play the 7th. And then I'm going to go all the way back to the 6th string. And then play that shape that was the original arpeggio, or the Locrian arpeggio right here. And then go back through it. And then when you get back to that 1st string again, you can play the 8th fret. there, of course, are a couple different ways you can mix them together. We can switch up when I get to the 6th string and the 5th string. I can switch up in the middle. That's something you could play around with. Okay, there's all kinds of ways we could switch it up. But if I was going to do this, I would go ahead and switch it up on the 1st string. So I'd play from here, and then play the shape through one more time, but then as I run back, I'll go into the other shape. And then right here, switch it up again. So just going through that a couple times, we'll call the one that ends on the 5th string the 2nd shape, this one right here. And the one that ends with the Locrian on the 6th string will be the 1st shape. So if we start with the 1st shape, and then go back through it again, and then go to the 2nd shape here. And then keep on going, and every time you get to the 1st string, you switch to the other shape. 2nd shape, 1st shape, 2nd shape, right there, switching. 2nd shape. Or 1st shape, I'm sorry. So, once again, 1st shape. If you don't want to play that right there, you can just go ahead and switch to the 2nd shape right there. 2nd shape. 1st shape. 2nd shape. 1st shape. And then it just keeps on going back and forth. Put a metronome on, get up to speed. You can play all kinds of really cool stuff with that. And then, of course, if you link it back in to that Locrian mode, or even that pentatonic that I show you on my Patreon, then you got all kinds of cool stuff in there. A little harmonic minor in there as well. But there's all kinds of great stuff in there. It's just a matter of playing with it and fleshing out all kinds of cool stuff and finding different things that are going to work within the scale shapes. Hey, I hope you enjoyed this lesson. I know that arpeggios and sweep picking are pretty deep into the field of guitar soloing, right? Like a lot of people may not be able to do that. I'm not great at it myself. I'll be 100% honest with you. I'm working on it. It's one of the things that I love to do, and I love to pick it apart and play with it. And I'm going to continue working on it. And as I learn new things, I want to come back and show you new things. But all that said, I like to go ahead and take anything that I show you and head back over to the scale shapes themselves, which is what I usually do in my lessons, to help you understand that the scale shapes are pretty much universal. There's some variation within the scale shapes, of course, but if you can understand how to pick apart the scale shapes, you can pretty much solo over any song you want to and train your fingers to go to the fretboard where you want them to go, and then just find those patterns that, again, lock together like puzzle pieces, and you can play them all over the fretboard. So that's pretty much what I do in my foundational course, which is my 7-day course that you can get at tinyurl.com/DanH411. It's completely free. Sign up to my mailing list and I'll send it to you. And once you check out that course, you'll be able to understand the YouTube videos a lot better because it gives you a great foundation for everything that I do here on YouTube. So be sure to check out that course at tinyurl.com/DanH411 and just be able to pick up the guitar and go. And for this lesson, if you like the arpeggio shapes and things like that that I showed you in this lesson, are there any other questions that you have about how to use these shapes with the Locrian or the Phrygian modes? Are you able to apply them to other modes? And have you been able to unlock some other arpeggio or sweep picking shapes just by looking at these patterns? Because what I am doing for myself is I'm unlocking the code. And as I teach you these lessons, as I unlock more, I'm hoping I'll help you unlock more as well. So it's not just, hey, do this, hey, play this, hey, play this. It's more about, hey, learn how to unlock it this way. I want to teach you how to unlock it the way that I'm able to unlock it, so that you can further your knowledge by finding your own shapes, patterns, licks, tricks, and all that stuff that allow you to express yourself the way that you want to express yourself without relying on someone else's bag of tricks. Find your own bag of tricks. And that's what this is going to help you do. So let me know if you found anything interesting in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. And I'll keep working on this. You keep working on this. And I'll see you in the next one.